What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the NBA Slate Starter podcast. I'm Eric, joined with my buddy Pete as we break down Fridays. Well, how many games is it? It's 11, right? It's 11 game NBA DFS slate on DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo. Look at you. This guy. You're right on top of it. It's like Ryan never left, even though Ryan did leave us for Arizona. He's having some fun out at the Tournament of Champions. I think he's proxying for Alex, or he's living the good life. We don't feel bad for him, but I'm excited to have you back. This is going to be a fun one.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me back. Always excited to break down NBA slates with you. It's been a minute, and we have a big one ahead of us here. So it was a light night tonight, but as Friday hits, we got a ton of games, to talk about, and a lot of moving pieces.
For those that don't know, Pete is the man when it comes to MMA. If you haven't followed all of his goings on at Awesemo.com, you need to head over there. And any card, anything that involves fighting, boxing, if people make contact with each other in a violent fashion, he is probably somebody who knows something about it. Also just opened a gym with his pops, which is one of the cooler things, period. If you want to tell the people what you've been up to before we get into it.
Yeah, thanks so much for the shout out. I appreciate that. Yeah, you guys can check me and Jason Floyd out on Awesemo's, channels and the podcasts. And we break down every UFC card, and it's fun. We've been doing it for quite some time. In the absence of having no UFC cards, I actually opened a gym, me and my father. So here in Connecticut, we got a kickboxing MMA gym. It's pretty sweet. We train a bunch of fighters. It's a place for me to get ready for my fights as well. Pass down our knowledge to the next generation, and doing a lot of stuff with the youth, local youth clubs and all that. So it's a nice, healthy habit for kids to get into. And I'm extremely thankful to have this opportunity to give back. So yeah, it's just been great, man. I don't even feel like I work anymore. I feel like I just go do what I love.
I'm just a degenerate golfer. That's my workout now. I went and ran 2.5 miles right before we started recording this. Let me tell you, I'm shot. I'm done. I'm not doing anything for the next day. That's for sure. What you guys should do right now, though, is hit that like button for my guest, Pete the Heat. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Hit the notification bell if you're watching us here on YouTube. And if you're listening to us over on any of these lovely podcast places, specifically Spotify, Apple, leave us 5-star reviews. That goes a long way for us. If you enjoyed those free rolls, we had a $1,000 free roll that we introduced on Wednesdays. That's going to be an ongoing thing over on Yahoo, our sponsor. We appreciate them working with us. They like us a little bit. It's strange, but you know what? We'll take it. Pete, not only does he know MMA, but he knows a little thing about NBA. You ready to get going, my dude?
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Let's ride.
There it is. I was going to say, I can call you my dude. I can't call Ryan my dude because apparently he's hated that, even though we've been friends for 7, 8 years, whatever. He's just got the nerve to tell me now. Didn't want to hurt my feelings. But on the top end, LeBron James, I'm assuming he's going to be out here again. It was some kind of a knee issue that kept him out today. It's on a back-to-back. He had a lot of tweets where he was just putting the angry emoji after another angry emoji. I'm assuming that's bad, but we'll kind of wait for news on that. If LeBron doesn't play, oh my God, we might have to roster Russell Westbrook again, and I might have to kill myself, but whatever. The dude just is the stone cold worst based on tonight. But Trae Young, 10-6, John Morant finally over 10K, 10-3 for a guy that all he does is go completely nuts here on the top end every single game out. Gone 60 plus 3 of his last 4. I don't know what people are looking about. In the absence of Dillon Brooks, he is your de facto number one. He's even in the presence of Dillon Brooks should be a de facto number one. DeJounte Murray, 10K. We've got an intriguing little grouping in Devin Booker, who's now got a ceiling that's out of control here too. Amongst these guys on the top end, who is your favorite to pay up for, Pete?
I mean, I love them all, honestly. John Marant has been a guy I've been happy to get to any and all slates. He's just an absolute monster. He's doing it with consistency as well. Like anytime you see multiple 60-point performances, you have my potential. I mean, you have my attention. I get to a lot of DeJounte Murray, just a lot, because I do like how he's always capable of getting double-doubles and triple-doubles, and he's always super close to that, and he stuffs the stat sheet in multiple ways. So I'm not a big fan of the team in general, but like DeJounte Murray is like a no-brainer for DFS. Top end, it's just, there's so much potential there, and I think that the salary is definitely appropriate. He's been floating around there for quite some time, and he's just a consistent guy. It's somebody, if I think it's going to be a competitive game, he's going to need to perform well for this team to actually have a shot. So I really like getting to DeJounte Murray. if you start to go down a little bit, obviously, what Devin Booker has done this entire year, especially of late, has been absolutely amazing. He's really providing a ton of points for this team and really just leading that offense. I like getting to him, but I like some other players that aren't so scoring dependent, even though it doesn't really matter. But yes, the
Oh,
top
it
end just
definitely
looks
matters.
amazing.
Don't kid yourself. It matters for sure. I
Eh,
mean, that's the same. That's the exact point that I was going to bring up, and it's
yeah.
something that maybe we don't touch on enough. But like Trey Young and Devin Booker, they can definitely get there in terms of
Mhm.
points. Devin Booker had 12 boards against Utah. I don't see 12 boards on the horizon in the same way that you could definitely expect it out of a guy like DeJounte Murray, who has
Right.
some double-digit rebounding games all the time. He's gone for double-digit assists in his last 5 games consecutively. Like, that is a big deal where you get bonuses, double-double, triple-double bonuses. So, I mean, for me, John Morant, DeJounte Murray, I think get automatic preferential treatment over Trey Young, who does he still have a ceiling? Sure, but he is definitely a notch below those other two. Same thing, Devin Booker for me.
Yeah, I thought that I might have just been a little bit of a hater, but that's kind of always been my thinking is like a simplistic mindset of like, where they can fall into stats and fantasy points a little bit easier, even if they don't have the best offensive night. And
Yes.
that's where I'm constantly getting to DeJounte Murray and John Morant night in and night out. It's just much easier for them to reach their ceiling than a guy who's super scoring dependent and may still drop 25, 30 points and not have, a ceiling type of performance for DFS.
Totally. And again, that's a great point to bring up for everybody there. It's you got to be conscious because, of course, Devin Booker goes out and goes, what, 16 for 28, 2
Right.
for 6 from 3, guys, pretty negligible. But shooting 57% for Devin Booker with 12 rebounds, which is an outlier, that's basically 2 outlier statistics. And Devin
Mhm.
Booker is a fantastic shooter, but like, I don't expect that kind of shooting or rebounding performance again. I'm more inclined to try to take shots with a Chris Paul at 9K,
Mhm.
who just does that double double thing on the routine basis. We're talking assist points, and in the event that he's shooting 50+%, which he's done quite frequently here. I mean, you just need to see one day where he takes over a fourth quarter, which has happened how many hundreds of times in his career, and gets a little bit more offensively minded. And you're just automatically hitting the double double button at 9K. So that's kind of my contrarian guy in that mid range. Karis LeVert just burned the entire universe, and now is going up against OKC. Got in foul trouble, like severe foul trouble. Only played 20 minutes. I bet he gets some attention here in the absence of all these Indiana pieces. And, I think that that's just fine. But I think he's still a notch below those guys, John Morant, DeJounte Murray. So I'm not going to be going nuts for that. I just don't want to play Russell Westbrook, but I'm going to have to play Russell Westbrook. And it's just going to make me upset to roster Russell Westbrook. Please tell me I don't have to roster Russell Westbrook because I hate that.
I mean, I went light on him tonight, and I think I really
Good
just
for you.
I got extremely lucky. I went a little bit more contrarian with the slate. LaMelo Ball, I like getting to him, especially if Kelly Oubre for whatever reason is out. And we're just seeing LaMelo Ball, that potential. He's cooled off. I would say this final quarter of the season. But he still provides tons of upside, and he's another
Yeah, we saw
player
that
that
last game.
exactly. He put up 69 fantasy points, 10 rebounds, 13 assists, 29 points. Like that's the type of guy that I want at 8,400 with that double double, triple double type of potential. And against the Lakers, man, with say LeBron's out. I know that Davis took a hard fall tonight, but ended up getting back in there. But you know how Davis is when it comes to injuries. So they might be a depleted group. And I love picking on the Lakers this year. So I just think that LaMelo Ball, is going to go out there and have a solid night. And I think Charlotte's just going to be a little bit too much for him. So we'll have to see. But I like him at 8,400. Definitely a guy I can get to. Kind of has that Chris Paul type of facilitation about him. So we'll have to see.
What do you think the over under of that game is going to be? I'm looking to see if it's posted right now.
It'll be crazy.
It's going to be like close to 240, I would think.
I would imagine, yeah, because of how just Charlotte plays and how non-existent the Lakers defense is. And now you take injuries into question with that. I think that Charlotte is just going to be a lot to handle. The assists from the Mello, just everything. I mean, I like it when he's a little bit aggressive from the field. Like you see him, he shot 16 attempts last time. That was fine. He's
It's
on 3
better.
games,
Yeah.
16, 16, 17. Not what we were seeing early on in the season, but that's also because Terry Rozier is pretty solid since he's been back for quite some time now. But yeah, all in all, I'm going to be picking on the Lakers tomorrow.
Yeah, Terry Rozier, another guy, 7,600. We can definitely click on. He's going to be low owned, especially compared to LaMelo, because everybody's going to jam a
Yep.
stat stuffer like that. 7,600, that's more in the bearing of like a shooting dependent guard who's going to be like 3-4% on a massive 11 game slate. I think that's the kind of shot for upside in the mid range I'm more willing to take. I mean, that's kind of the same thing you would say about a Derek White at 6,100. Like, it's not a great play point per dollar, but that's somebody who's going to play mid 30s minutes for a Spurs team that, Pirtle has just really emerged there on that team here of late as well. Same thing could be said. Amir Coffey is somebody that's putting up some massive lines, 37, 34 minutes. He's the only guy who's really been consistent on this Clippers team of late. 5,400 is starting to get there, but they're still 45 plus. And that's kind of what I'm looking for any roster spot. And of course, we got to bring up the Pelicans because they are going to be a disaster in the event that you have no Brandon Ingram and no Josh Hart there. I still think Nickeil Alexander-Walker at 4,400 is too cheap. I think Devontae Graham at 5,200 becomes one of the most popular plays on the slate, playing mid 30s minutes there, coming off of a 41.75 DraftKings point outing. I think you're going to really have to be paying attention to that news. Luckily, that game is 8 p.m. Eastern time, so a little bit after lock. I hope the news doesn't come out till a little bit later because they're not going to be the greatest plays of all time. But God, there's nobody on that team that's over, 8K. Jonas Valanciunas is the only guy 7,900, and that's just too cheap for him. And everybody else there, I think, is a serviceable play here on the bottom end. What do you think about Nickeil Alexander-Walker?
Yeah, I really don't mind him at all. Honestly, it was a player that I got to plenty early on in the season. If you go back to, let's say, October, he was actually putting together strong performances, 32 points on the 25th, 38 on the 23rd. He was floating between the 30s and 40s quite often, shooting pretty aggressively too, over 10 attempts in multiple games, 20 several times. He seemed to be a little bit more of a confident player. And then as the team has kind of gone on throughout the season, you've seen him lose minutes. And, with limited minutes, he's limiting his opportunities to really, showcase his skills. And I think a situation like this, where it's a depleted group, somebody's going to have to step up. And I don't mind getting to him. I think the price is just absolutely broken at 4,400, despite the matchup against Denver. Obviously, you don't feel comfortable when you're rostering a player on a terrible team, but if you're rostering a serviceable player on a terrible team, at least you know that they're going to be demanded upon to really step up in a situation like that. So I like what you're saying about the Pelicans' value. We can kind of name it. They're going to have to do something, or they're going to get blown out with by halftime. So I like them here at the price range. I'm completely fine getting to that in that same price range. Like Malik Monk is just a serviceable piece night to night for me. It's just kind of like, it's a position that, let's say I put him at shooting guard. It's a position where I'm sometimes getting a little bit cheap and wanting to spend up on some bigs. And as long as I can, reach value with somebody, I'm somewhat content with that. And Malik Monk, if the Lakers are even more depleted than they were tonight, then we could see somebody step up, and just his shooting is going to be dependent upon.
Last disgusting thing that I'm going to say, and then we're going to go to FanDuel because we're going to keep flying. Lance Stevenson, sub 4K. I don't want to say it. I don't want to throw it out there, Karis LeVert, but I'm just saying I can't do it. But at least I'd maybe take a chance or two if he's going to be low owned, sub 4K. Assuming we're going to get some better value. But Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I think he's the guy, 4,400, who's going to be super popular coming off his best game of the season. He was mega chalk that day. He'll be mega chalk again if you get both Ingram and Hart out once more. Let's head to FanDuel top end for that. John Morant, 10-4. Well done. Finally pricing these guys up. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You say Shai, I say Shai. 10-2. DeJounte, what is that? 9,900 there for DeJounte. Trae Young, 9,100. You're getting a drastic discount compared to what you're getting over on DK for Trae Young. Play him on FanDuel, probably staying away on DK. play multiple sites. What a shocker. I'm going to suggest that again. Chris Paul, 8,800, Devin Booker, 9,400 at shooting guard there. So both of them in play against Minnesota. Minnesota on a back-to-back. We'll see kind of how that all shakes out, but not really seeing a ton of value until you get to, of course, LaMelo Ball still way too cheap at 8,600. He's going to be mega chalk there. And my dude, Karis LeVert, 7,800. I don't like him on DK. I will play tons of him on FanDuel. What sticks out to you over on the blue site?
Yeah, so I think that the Trae Young price tag is definitely intriguing. More inclined to play him over here on FanDuel, and you don't feel so bad about it because you feel like you're not really spending so much salary on a player that their performance can be replicated by a ton of cheaper players. 9,100 is completely serviceable, and in a matchup against Boston, a competitive game, I that's where you can see a ceiling type performance. So I like it. LaMelo Ball is just kind of like a no-brainer on either site at 8,600. But if, say, he has a mediocre performance, which is not what I'm going to really project in this matchup, these pieces around him could possibly outshine him there. Outside of that, man, like Russ Westbrook, 7,800, cheap, untrustworthy, will need to step up in a situation like this. But man, if I go down a little bit more, somebody at 6,400 and Cole Anthony, it seems ugly. It seems like you don't want to get to it, but I think that game's a sneaky game to target. Detroit and Orlando, two bottom half teams,
Right with
not
you.
good. I think that it could be some sneaky upside with some of these pieces they're definitely underpriced. And 6,400 for Cole Anthony. Yeah, I know that he was on a cold streak of late, but in his past game, he looked pretty good. 19 points, 6 rebounds, 11 assists, put up 52 fantasy points over here on FanDuel. So I like it, man. 6K price tag for him. I'll get to plenty of him at that price range.
Yeah, Rozier 7,700. That's your pivot off his teammate LaMelo Ball. Cade Cunningham 7,600 in that same Orlando matchup. I love that. I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to suggest Kevin Porter Jr. too. I know that sounds disturbing, but they're a Portland matchup that should be flying there in Houston. Kevin Porter Jr. has been playing, low 30s minutes here. I think that's a guy that, regardless of any issues that they've had with him on a personal level, he's going to have to play minutes for this basketball team, or if they want to move him or do whatever they want to do with him. They got him for a bag of potato chips from Cleveland last year, so it didn't really matter. I think Cleveland just let him walk, actually. So 6,200 for him, really appealing. Marcus Smart's back. We don't have to be thinking about Dennis Schroeder or anything there. And, of course, Donovan Mitchell, he's a game-time decision here at 8,200. He's questionable coming off of that concussion. I'm assuming he doesn't play. That means the same iteration of Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson. We can take those same shots. They're not fun shots, but they're shots that we're going to take. Do you have a preference between those two?
I really like Clarkson. And it's
Me
kind
too.
of just like I don't know. I try to get to as much Clarkson as possible, just because I think that he has a little bit more upside and he's aggressive, somewhat of a ball hog. So I like that for DFS.
Yeah.
I think it's somewhat of a disappointing fill-in. He's been serviceable by all means, but we have seen higher upside in the past from Clarkson, and I don't really know. It's just a weird situation. If Mitchell, for some reason, is back, I don't think that he would have full minutes. So he's definitely going to be eased into action coming off a concussion. So Clarkson, Conley again, but my lean is always towards Clarkson with that upside.
Yep, I'm with you as well. And if you look fantasy points per minute, 1.05 DraftKings, 0.99 FanDuel points per minute for Jordan Clarkson in the absence of Donovan Mitchell, 0.99 and 0.96 FanDuel points respectively between DraftKings FanDuel for Mike Conley. He should play a couple more minutes, so it's pretty neutral, but it seems like people play the starter. I just am always inclined to play Clarkson too. That's kind of how I roll. Let's head to Yahoo. Look at guard up there up top. DeJounte Murray, 47. Trae Young, 45. John Morant, 45. You have to pay up for those nice things. But LaMelo Ball, 38, becomes the real enticing target there at point guard. At shooting guard, you have Devin Booker, your most expensive guy against Minnesota. I can't really blame them, $38. But again, that's going to be pricey. Russell Westbrook is just staring me in the face at $33. I think he's mocking me. I can feel the blood boiling. I can already just feel my wallet emptying. I don't even really know what to say other than that. $33 for him. hopefully there's some pieces here a little bit cheaper. The likes of Kevin Porter, 23, that really sticks out to me. Further, Malik Monk, 19, that's not as appealing. There should be some guys near the floor here. So weird to say, Kemba Walker, $13, the most in play on Yahoo of any other site. I know he's been atrocious. I know he's been terrible. I know he's played sub 20 minutes here, but there's going to be a time that Kemba Walker gets acclimated and he plays his normal 26, 28 minutes that he could here. He played 30 minutes there. His first game back on January 18th. I know RJ Barrett's been playing well, but Kemba Walker, if he gets going, $13, I'm willing to take shots over there on him. What sticks out to you on Yahoo?
Yeah, so Yahoo seems like it's Russell Westbrook, and just try not to, you got to have a short memory in this game, right? You got to have a short memory because one day you get burned, next day it could be your darling. And I think at 33, it's just too cheap to ignore despite the volatility. Now, this is a matchup where possibly the fast break nature could work in Russell Westbrook's sloppy type of style. He seems to like I saw Shaq talking to him, and he's like, you're trying to do too much too quickly, and you got to slow down and have controlled bursts of energy. I just don't know if that's really in Russell Westbrook's DNA. I think that some people can be, they can operate like that, but I think Russell Westbrook.
What's the fighter analogy for Russell Westbrook? Who's the guy who comes out in the first round and then is just gassed in round 2 and there's nothing you can do about it, but it's still going to go out swinging?
I mean, Connor comes out pretty hot, right? Like Connor comes out pretty hot. So, but I mean, like he just seems like he's rushing things, and like Russell Westbrook, I think at the price range 33, you got to play it, right? If any site, you play it over on Yahoo and you give it a shot, and it just seems like a free square over there. But if you want to find $5 more, LaMelo Ball seems like the complete nice pivot with the upside in the matchup against the Lakers. So either way, I'll be targeting that game. Seems like I'm going to be somewhat, focused with some of my ownership. And that's another thing to take into consideration is where's everybody going to be going? I think that Lakers-Charlotte game is interesting. I think that Portland-Houston game is interesting. And if you can somewhat navigate through that ownership that's available on Awesemo.com, you can really see how to get different from the field in certain situations.
Yeah, Bruce Lee be water. Let's ride. I don't really know what else to say. Or be a goldfish in the event. Be a goldfish. We'll do the. Why am I blanking on the name of the show? Apple TV. Well, everybody watches it. I watch it. Ted Lasso. There we go. I just had to think of it for a second. Be a goldfish when it comes to Russell Westbrook. Also, So you find the $5 for Russell Westbrook. How about you find $10 if you're a new member over at Yahoo? Sign up. $10. You deposit $10 or more, first-time deposit bonus. So you'll get a bonus. They'll give you like a $25 bonus, I think, for signing up over there. But that's not the best part. The best thing is if you deposit $10 or more, play in any of the paid contests, and I'm saying lowest rake out of any site in the industry, right around 10, 12% for the run-of-the-mill tournaments. And then for Sunday for NFL, no fee. We're talking no rake to play in the $20. Just the best, most player-friendly contests. You play in any of those, and you will get one free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. That's a $90 value. Everything we offer behind the paywall, not just NBA, but NFL for this weekend and for the Super Bowl. Obviously, that would cover a full month there for that. You're going to have MMA. We're talking Top Fighters tool. Everything that Pete the Heat over there is pushing and focused on for the MMA stuff. You need to be taking advantage of this offer through Yahoo. Again, $10 gives you a $90 value for that first month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Also, golf. I'm starting to fire that up here. Today was a disaster. Absolute disaster at Torrey Pines, but everything else has been great to this point. So stop guessing star winning. Join us here at Awesemo, but do it through this promotion at Yahoo. Thank you so much to them for their sponsorship of the NBA Slate Starter podcast. That's how we do it in the pros. Happy. Let's go to forward. We're looking at the top end here on DraftKings. Giannis Antetokounmpo coming off of, what's the word? Oh, yeah, failure. He's coming off failure. I'm very upset with you, Giannis. 11-8 in a slow New York Knicks matchup. I don't care. I'm going to play Giannis because he generally will not screw me back-to-back days in the terms of a raw fantasy point outlook. So if I have the money to be able to get to him, I will always get to a guy who averages over 1.75 fantasy points per minute. Domantas Sabonis, he's questionable here with that ankle. I'm guessing he's closer to doubtful, but 10-4, probably not going to be going that direction. In the event that I hear limits or anything else there, I can't imagine he's going to get the 38 minutes I'd probably need out of him for that ceiling, but no Miles Turner there at least. Jason Tatum there, 10-1. Julius Randle, 9,200. Nothing looks super intriguing until we start talking the likes of a Zach Levine, 8,300, and Anthony Edwards, 7,900, or my favorite, 7,600 Miles Bridges in that Lakers matchup without Gordon Hayward and possibly without Kelly Oubre. How fun does that sound?
Yeah, it sounds fun, man. I'm telling you, I'm going to be smashing that game. And anytime people get to, go up against LeBron, even if LeBron's not playing, they want to show out and they want to definitely put on a performance and beat the team that LeBron is on. So I think that, Charlotte's going to be a nightmare for the Lakers. We've already mentioned that plenty of times. I think the Celtics are a little sneaky between Tatum and Brown. With Smart being back in there, obviously you have to think that they might have some increased possessions, you would imagine, based on the defensive skills of Marcus Smart, but we'll have to see. But Tatum and Brown, I like Brown's skill set at 8,900. I like the price discount as well. But man, all year I've been getting after these Chicago guys. I absolutely love them. Zach Levine looks like he's on the pound for pound list this slate as like one of the best value plays. I just absolutely love him here. Snubbed from the All-Star team. So I don't know, man. I really like Zach Levine here. And DeMar DeRozan's solid, always solid. But you're talking about Levine, who priced at 8,300 was previously priced in the upper 9,000s and even reached 10,000 several times. And they still have no Lonzo Ball. This team is going to be led by DeRozan, Levine, Vucevic. So I like Levine quite a bit. He seems like a no-brainer. I might even lock him into X amount of lineups. So I just think that he's too good to get out of.
Look at you. I don't mind that take whatsoever. DeMar DeRozan, does he have revenge in his heart? We will find out. Not that you should send a gift basket to the Spurs organization. Thanks for shipping me out, because life's a lot better with Chicago. They could be viable for a 1 seed if they can get healthy, which might take, I don't know, forever. But Alex Caruso, yikes. Grayson Allen, that news might actually matter with Milwaukee. I wonder if there's just like a hit, if this is like baseball where, Grayson Allen, if he does play, if the Knicks are like required by the sanctity of the game to just take out Grayson Allen, that'd be ridiculous. But Wes Matthews, Rodney Hood, both questionable in that spot. Dante DiVincenzo, we didn't talk about, but Pat Connaughton, there we go. Small forward, power forward eligibility, 4,100. I don't really know why I'd want to take that shot, but at least just pointing it out. 11 game slate. You better like your lineups, and maybe there's some value that opens up there. I will say Cody Martin, 4,400. We're talking the value forward department. He only played 26 minutes, but they were up by infinity points against Indiana. Ended up hanging a 158 spot on them. That's normal stuff, but that's what kind of stuff Charlotte could do against the Lakers. He had played 37 minutes in a close game against Toronto. I expect 30 plus from him in a close game. He's 4,400. No Kelly Oubre possibly, and definitely no Gordon Hayward, who's in health and safety protocols. So fire that one up. And Franz Wagner is like an eternal piece that you can take shots on. He plays a ton of minutes for this Magic team, playing mid to high 30s pretty much every single game, shooting the ball so insanely efficiently on the season. Well, not really on the season, but of late, I will say, because on the season, I believe a 34% three-point shooter, that's like whatever, but around 46% from the field, decent enough. Definitely some upside if he can get it going there for sure. Maybe a pivot off of the likes of a Cole Anthony, who I still like a little bit more, but anybody on the cheaper end of forward that sticks out to you?
Yeah, so I'm hoping that Oubre is going to play just without no Gordon Hayward. That would be nice to get Oubre there at 5,700. That's somewhat of a broken price tag for a guy who has just an incredible offensive game. If that does not happen, as you mentioned, we are going to get right to Cody Martin, and I got no issues with that at all. Outside of that game, because we've been somewhat focused on that, I'm going to say that Portland-Houston game is pretty interesting, and Houston's going to need somebody to keep him in. Kevin Porter will, Christian Wood will. But I think a guy at 5,400 who has the capability of outscoring Jae'Sean Tate, baby, I don't mind it. It's just like the minutes from night to night, and sometimes it's blowout dependent, coming off only 19 minutes. But that's also in his return. So we'll have to see. I want to get him 25, 30 minutes. If he does, I like him here at 5,400 in a game like that. So Jae'Sean Tate just looks sneaky all the time.
I like that
5,100.
shout out. He's going to be a low owned tournament play no matter what. And again,
Right.
we can't tell you what the news is going to be that's going to dictate a lot of our
Mhm.
lineups. That's not what our job here is to do. I think it's a great thing on an 11 game slate to be like, this is a guy who has 50-point upside. You should keep him in your pool no matter what. Because I think people get a little nearsighted. And I was probably guilty of this when Brooklyn news hit the other night on Wednesday when we had just a plethora of guys that we could take shots on. But I kind of forgot about the rest of the board and the rest of the
Right.
ensemble. It's like you look at the band and it's like, well, the flutes matter too, even if they're not the loudest instrument.
I like that.
That's
That's
the
a great way to
weirdest
put it.
analogy ever.
No, but dude, that's a great way to put it. That's fantastic. And some players get lost in the shuffle because so many people are pivoting based on the news that's breaking, and it goes to show you who's getting overlooked and kind of scrolled past. And Jayshawn Tate is a guy that isn't a sexy option, but it's a serviceable one with upside. Somebody that I don't know, this price tag to me, and I've seen it of late. It's just like, man, early on in the season, if I saw 5,100 attached to Keldan Johnson, I would
Yeah.
think that's an upside spot, right? But he's been relatively disappointing. It's a Chicago team that's a pretty strong defensive team. Not an ideal matchup by any means, but he has shown that in some matchups he can step up. It's more of a price tag play than anything, just because, like for me, forward at the cheap end, outside of getting to the Charlotte chalk, if you will, it's not the
Mhm.
most appealing, right? Like I don't know, like a Joe Ingles at 4,800, okay. I might even rather take a shot on Keldon Johnson.
I don't completely hate it. Normally, I would make the argument that, oh, well, he can't get to 40. It's hard.
Yeah.
You go through his box scores and you just see like one or two kind of smatterings there. 5,100. You can find 40 generally in the low fours, upper threes, depending on what the value is that comes out. But the nice thing about him is Keita Bates Diop is in health and safety protocols. That's generally been a guy who's played 15 to 20 minutes a
Hmm.
night and kind of been a part of that rotation. They take him out and they don't give the minutes to Thaddeus Young.
I
They don't
know.
give it to Hernan Gomez. What they do, they just play him more. They played 12 minutes of Thaddeus Young. It was crazy to even see him touch the court the other night. But that definitely opens up more minutes for Keldon Johnson. So I think 35, 38 minutes, something like that, definitely gives him some upside at that tag. All you need is one decent shooting night, and he will get there in 38 minutes. That's for sure. Let's head over to FanDuel here. Giannis, 11K up there on the top end, your most expensive guy. LeBron, I'm assuming to be out. We shall see. Jason Tatum there, 9,700. Domantas Sabonis, 9,600. On the fringe of playable, even if you don't hear that news. Again, Jason Tatum and Robert Williams went completely bonkers in very limited minutes in that annihilation of Sacramento, but I really don't want to be taking those kind of shots. Anthony Davis, I would be surprised if he played on a back-to-back, coming off of one, his hand issue, two,
Mhm.
he's been out for so long for whatever else. This was going to be the portion of the program where I start throwing out all of these guys. We have Carmelo Anthony, Kalen Horton Tucker, 5,200 and 4K respectively. Guys that were in play tonight. Trevor Ariza, Stanley Johnson, once again, is somebody that I bet gets a lot of attention. Stanley Johnson, 3,600 on FanDuel. Obviously did everybody well tonight on a 2-gamer. Can we still maybe lean on him on an 11-gamer tomorrow?
I think there's going to be value that opens up, and just the way that you saw Davis go down, and just his tendency to be eased back into action on a back to back. I would imagine that there's going to be tons of Laker value. So Stanley Johnson's a guy that's fine. I have no issues with him. Taylor Horton Tucker completely disappointing, and it's a guy that I thought was going to step up and be another extremely dangerous option for this Lakers team. And I know that LeBron was kind of like advocating that that was going to happen. That was going to be the kind of hidden gem within that team, this guy coming out there. But I don't know, man. It just has not really materialized. So outside of value plays, I don't really know how high their ceiling is, but they can definitely fit your lineups to allow you to get to some big pieces like a Jokic that we'll get to. But yeah, I think the upside's pretty much capped, but it's a good matchup. I mean, it's a going to be a high scoring game. So at least you would imagine.
You would imagine, and also I'm mad at Taylor Horton Tucker. Shout out
Yeah.
Iowa State. The guy was a confirmed difference maker for our basketball team in college, and a lot of what I thought he had was going to translate to the Lakers. It was crazy that he fell that far. I'd say the same thing. It was crazy Halliburton fell as far as he did. I think the Big 12 has proven to be year in, year out, the most top to bottom, or at least top heavy conference in college basketball. They are ridiculous. And now you have pieces coming out of Iowa State, Baylor, Kansas constantly. Texas Tech has some guys that are up and coming too. That I feel pretty confident that if you can get a bucket in the Big 12, you can get a bucket just about anywhere in the NBA too. There's more NBA talent, more defensive talent that exists in the Big 12 than other conferences, but it's just not coming to fruition for THT. Part of it is that I think he looks lost when he doesn't have LeBron out there telling him what to do. I think there's probably something that being a young player, you probably have this surge of confidence playing alongside him. But then you have guys like Kyle Kuzma. Look how efficient he is outside of LeBron, outside of these other guys that are more ball dominant. I just don't think there's enough touches for him on this Lakers team to really be super effective. I bet he gets moved. I'm pretty positive that they're going to bring in a vet. They'll probably cut ties here sooner rather than later. He just doesn't look right. And not just saying this is a 1-game sample out here. I watch an unfortunate amount of Lakers basketball, which is not the best brand of basketball to be watching out here on the West Coast. Clippers and them, just what an abysmal year. I really don't have a ton else to add. I mean, I just freaking brought up Stanley Johnson, for God's sake.
Right.
Cameron Johnson, we can talk Phoenix here as well. Jay Crowder, going to be out once again. We're looking at DeAndre Ayton out once again. JaVale McGee out once again. So I think that Cameron Johnson, he's been a value piece, I think, for 48 slates in a row, it seems like. I think he will be a value piece. Once again, small forward only on FanDuel, but playing 36 minutes, he's going to be somebody who gets rostered in, the event that there's not super value that shows up.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with you. Man, it's interesting over here on this platform, but I'll tell you what, Nickeil Alexander-Walker at 5,500 might be like the guy to go to for this position, truthfully, because it's an ugly situation. He's coming off a great game. He seems like a young player that needs confidence and an opportunity, and you kind of strapped for options here. So I have no issues. I'll probably get to Alexander Walker in majority of my lineups instead of getting to some of that ugly Lakers value.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't really see anything super cheap. Jaden McDaniel started tonight for the Timberwolves. I have no idea how that's going to go, but it's a starter who's sub 4K. Just throwing him out there too. We shall see. Hopefully there's some more value that shows up on FanDuel for forward, because it is brutal at the moment for an 11 gamer by an 11 gamer standards, but lots of mid-tier options won't be value starved by any means. Giannis 55 over on our sponsor Yahoo. Jimmy Butler 43. This is the game time decision portion where we bring him up because Bam Adebayo becomes an absolute smash fest. FanDuel, he's power forward eligible. Otherwise, I'm saving him for the center discussion, more applicable to DraftKings and Yahoo. But Jimmy Butler, questionable. That could open up a ton, especially with Kyle Lowry continuing to be out for personal reasons. So Miami could become one of those teams. Be prepared. Jason Tatum, 41. DeMar DeRozan, 39. These are some really expensive tags. I mean, outside of Giannis's ceiling, it's really hard for me to pay up for guys. Even Jaren Jackson, I like taking the shot. 6,700 on DK, $30 on Yahoo. I think pretty unnecessary for that slate. Hard for me to really see him smashing the slate at $30. I mean, he definitely has 50 plus upside, but so do a lot of guys in this range. What sticks out to you over on Yahoo?
Yeah, so I really do like. Obviously, I like Giannis. I think that Miles Bridges at 34 is fine. DeMar DeRozan at 39 seems a tad expensive, but warranted given just his strong season. Outside of that, like Akasaurus Rex, Jaren Jackson Jr. at 30, cool. You just gotta dodge those fouls best you can.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'll probably go with RJ Barrett at 28. Competitive game, on a somewhat of a heater. 28 seems justified. It's not.
And you never walk away from the table on a heater.
Yeah, exactly. It seems justified. We do know that Kemba Walker's going to have a strong game, you would imagine, soon. But RJ Barrett, I think you could do worse over here on this platform. Talking about a player that's in the 20s who is significantly outplaying that salary right there. So I'll go with RJ Barrett, oddly enough, because I absolutely hate rostering the Knicks.
Oh, yeah. No, it's atrocious. He's been revelatory for them. I think that's probably the correct word for it. He's been revelatory. In the event that you have no Marcus Morris, you could play some Terrence Mann. I don't want to at $14. Why is he power forward only over on Yahoo? I don't understand that one. I've never thought of him as a power forward. He's like 5'11". No, he's not that short. He's like 6'5" or something. I'm not going to Google it. I don't care. Caleb Martin, $14 would be very interesting if there's no Jimmy Butler there. He's already playing mid-20s minutes. I think that becomes low 30s minutes. That is a drastically different basketball player. And of course, Tyler Hero would be the guy you want to play the absolute most. I believe his position over on Yahoo is shooting guard. So $29. No Jimmy Butler. That'd be the guy along with Bam Adebayo. And I'll get to his assist rate because it's one of my favorite stats is how drastic of a basketball player. The difference between Bam with and without Jimmy Butler on the floor, it is crazy. We saw that, especially after Jimmy Butler got ejected in the first quarter of whatever game that was. And bam, win ham. That's what he does. Let's round this out here. We're to make a pretty good time. Sub 40 minutes. This is an 11 gamer. This was always going to go a little long. Smash that like button for Pete the Heat. If your guys are watching us on YouTube, because he's crushing the game here. Who knew? The man knew so much about the NBA. I did because I've done this with him before. But center, Nikola Jokic, 12-6 on that top end. He is just a guy who's unavoidable on any slate. I don't care. You put up 54. If you can get up to Jokic, if the value presents itself, you just play a lot of Jokic. I don't see any way around it. Giannis, 11-8. Anthony Davis, 9,800. We'll see what happens on a back-to-back. Vooch, 9,600. Karl Anthony Towns, he's playing really well so far in the first half against Golden State. I would expect him to garner some attention, but my eye gravitates to this little trio, 8,200 to 7,900. We got Christian Wood, Yusuf Nurkic, and Jonas Valanciunas. I think Wood and Nurkic facing each other, that could be fun. They both could go nuts. And Jonas Valanciunas, he's going to have his hands full, but he's going to play all the minutes he can handle to be out there with Nikola Jokic. I think that makes his like low 30s, upper 30s, and that makes him very appealing to me on the slate. Talk to me about center over here.
Center is loaded, man. Center is loaded. And it's important to really identify which positions are heavy and which ones are light. So you can really start to get a little bit different. Say, you know that somebody is going to be extremely popular at the top end of center, and you think you can get basically the same production out of somebody in the 7K range. And that's where you can get different. Jokic, 12-6, super, super expensive price tag, but the man is just, he's not a man. He's not human. He's unbelievable. I love rostering him anytime I can get to it because it just seems like a 50 burger every single time. Vucevic is fine. I'd much rather get to the other pieces of Chicago. I do really like Christian Wood here at 8,200. I just think it's an interesting spot, and I understand that Nurkic is in a good spot as well. I mean, they're going to be going back and forth in this situation. I probably lean towards the guy in Christian Wood, oddly enough, just because I feel like he's somewhat of the alpha on that team. Whereas like Nurkic, even without Dame, still has, Anthony Simons and CJ McCollum. So I don't know. I just feel like Christian Wood has to have an exceptional game for them to stay within this competitively. So I'll slightly lean in his direction, oddly enough. But I mean, outside of that, you're talking about just loads of talent. You got, Jonas Valanciunas, as you mentioned, going to have to play a ton of minutes, but he's probably going to still get to 40 points. I think that Hassan Whiteside at 6,900 with no Rudy Gobert is okay, but doesn't have the same upside as some of these other centers. So I'd much rather get to some centers with some significant 50-point upside. And I think the ones we mentioned are definitely the ones to target.
I have so many songs going through my head. I'm going to do this because Ryan would give me crazy looks, and I feel like you'll appreciate it. Isn't it good? Roster Christian Wood. That would be in the words of the Beatles, of course.
There we go.
And then looking at In the Name of the Killers, open up my eager eyes. I'm Hassan Whiteside. And then we're going down in the words of Simon and Garfunkel. Here's to you, Mitchell Robinson. The Knicks do not love you more than you will know. That is for sure. Oh, I will not roster you. Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba. See, I don't know who sings that one. So it's just lots of songs at center.
You got skills with that, man. That is like unique. That is, keep it going. I love it.
Just dumb. This is how my brain works. Somehow, this is how I think I got the job, is just having a weird, fucked up brain. But here we go. Center, looking at it, Mo Bamba, 5,200, going up against Detroit. It's weird to say, but he had 26 minutes that first game back after being out one game. I think he had a one-game absence, whatever. Or he played 7 minutes on the 23rd, got dinged up and whatever else, or had 4 fouls. Just a weird game there. I'll go back and look at it. But 30 minutes of Mo Bamba, 5,200 against Isaiah Stewart and Kelly Olynyk. Yeah, that sounds fun to me. Let's head over to FanDuel here. Again, center is just loaded. Hassan Whiteside, a little bit more expensive around DK, by the way. I think that we'll probably be looking at getting to the 65 iteration of him over on FanDuel here the most. But 11-3, Nikola Jokic there on the top end. That's cheaper than DraftKings. That is going to be very popular. Karl Anthony Towns, 93. Nikola Vucevic. Now, you do have DeRozan and Zach LaVine back. I think that that's going to definitely drive down some of the usage, but the rebounding numbers have been very, very nice here of late. Back-to-back 15 spots. A guy that I think is just going to have some ceiling games. You just want to play him when he's unowned. Like, I don't want to play a popular Vooch, even at 8,700, but if he's relatively unknown, that's the spot to take a shot. Do not play Jakob Poeltl at 8,500. Play him on DraftKings where you can play him at what is the number? I mean, it is so different. 6,400 on DraftKings. 8,500 just makes my brain hurt. I will not do that. Bam Adebayo 8K. I said I was going to bring it up and just kind of explain this to you. Bam Adebayo is one of the best passing bigs, and nobody talks about how good of a passer this guy is. And he's specifically taking a huge jump up without Jimmy Butler on the floor every single time. I'm just kind of grouping it. You take Jimmy Butler off the floor over the course of this season alone, and it's pretty much constant throughout for whatever season, but 1.33 DraftKings points per minute. That's better than 0.2 DraftKings points per minute over Omer Yurtseven. That's 0.24 better than Tyler Hero. He becomes such a ridiculous priority for me if you don't have Jimmy Butler out. Like, I will just lock button. And I've done this many times before with Bam, and it's never really gone wrong. Maybe it hasn't always worked out to win a tournament, but like, man, do you just want to jam all the Jimmy Butler? Last time that Jimmy Butler got ejected in a game, you saw Bam Adebayo eat up all the usage, put up 55.75 against Portland. It was, I mean, he is a drastically different basketball player with no Jimmy Butler there. Becomes a guy that from an assist perspective, God, why will it not refresh? Like, literally, that's all I've been waiting for, installing to try to get it to refresh. Here it is. Assist numbers. When you do not have Mr. Jimmy Butler on the floor, and I guess Kyle Lowry on the floor as well, 20+% assist rate. That's nifty for a big. Play him lots. Talk to me about center on FanDuel.
Yeah, so you know what? I'm going to even add to that. And the reason I'm going to add to that is I think it's a good matchup against the Clippers where Ty Lue that center position seems to be in somewhat of a flux where they're trying to figure out what they want to do between Zubats, Hartenstein, Serge Ibaka. There's no consistency with minutes. They're somewhat playing players based on matchups. And I just feel like they're not going to be able to find out the perfect solution to guarding Bam or matching him correctly. So it's almost like a smash spot for me now that you even bring that to my attention. About the assist numbers, I know that he's been strong in the absence of Jimmy Butler and, even Kyle Lowry to an extent. But with everything that I've been looking at for the Clippers, I just think it's a nightmare for the Clippers to try to figure out what they're going to do against Bam. So let me just kind of like say that Bam on FanDuel at 8,000 is absolutely amazing. And I'm going to get to a ton of him. Bam Adebayo on DraftKings at 7,500. That's another smash. So let's just
Jimmy Butler's got to be out for me.
Correct.
Jimmy Butler's got to be out. Yeah.
Correct. So
Kyle Lowry's out. Gabe Vincent also has a pretty high assist rate. We didn't touch on him before, 5,100, but legitimately no Kyle Lowry, no Jimmy Butler on the floor. 27.3% assist rate for Gabe Vincent, 26.7% for Bam Adebayo. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's ridiculous is right. That's unheard of. Yeah. So I'm going to be getting to plenty of Bam, especially if I'm paying attention to that news. I really like that even more so after talking to you about it. So yeah, so pick your spots for center. There's plenty to choose from, but I definitely think that you can separate yourself by putting yourself in a strong matchup with somebody with elevated totals, like as simple as an assist total. You're going to talk about a guy just completely mispriced for the slate.
Yeah, Jonas Valanciunas, 7,400 will be popular. I don't really know if I can add anything other than he'll just play more minutes. He's effective.
Mhm.
He's going to be the number one scoring option if there's no Brandon Ingram, which I'm assuming. Hassan Whiteside, 6,500. That's going to be popular. You would have to come out and kidnap me in order to play 6,300 Bismack Biyombo. So I'm not going to do that, but my kidnappers might make me, just throwing it out there. Let's head to Yahoo and round this out. Top end, Nikola Jokic, $57. Karl Anthony Towns, 39. Yusuf Nurkic, 37. Vooch, 36. Bam Adebayo, 34. That is my favorite guy if there's no Jimmy Butler. Bar none. Play two centers. Play Jokic, play Bam, and win money. Jonas Valanciunas, 31, is on the brink of kind of playable. Robert Williams, I really don't expect whatever the hell we just saw in that 27-minute schlacking of a crippled Rashawn Holmes. He just made him his you-know-what. So there's, that shot if you want to take it. Hassan Whiteside, $23 is very, very kind of intriguing to start taking a look at. But Goga Batadze, now, he only played 18 minutes or 19 minutes, but had a little bit early foul trouble. He's kind of been pulled out of the rotation in some weird ways. Isaiah Jackson is kind of getting worked in a little bit. He's going to project out well, just kind of shying away a little bit more, even at $17. I really prefer spending up for some of these really, really solid center options because there are tons of them. Who are your favorites to round out over on Yahoo, Pete?
Yeah, I'm not going to get too cute with this position on Yahoo, to be honest. I'm going to let other people chase some ugly spots, and I'll get to the likes of Bam. Christian Wood at 31 looks pretty solid. Yusuf Nurkic, 37, slightly expensive, but tons of upside in that matchup. It's just a solid position everywhere, and I'm not going to go below the 30s most likely. I just really like the top end, especially on Yahoo.
I'm with you. Guys, this was a blast. Man, what one night and one night only. Pete the Heat just coming in, dropping knowledge. Pete the Heat Rogers. Make sure you check out all his MMA stuff. Doing phenomenal work for us here at Awesemo for the last couple of years. Can't appreciate him enough for coming on and hanging, talking a little hoops with us. Any final words for the people?
No, I just want to say thank you guys for the opportunity. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate everything that you do for Awesemo as well. You are one of the best brains in the business. So definitely every time I see a video out there, I love tuning into you and Rinpack. So excited to do another one in the future, whenever that may be. And until then, keep crushing the game as you always do.
All right. Well, he's Pete the Heat. He's really good at fighting. I'm Eric Lindquist. I'm really good at loving. That's just what I do. We'll see you guys later.